Hey, you guys, welcome back. Today we're going to go over adding integers. Before we do that, food review number 3. Today we're going to go over Doritos Golden Sriracha flavor. These actually came from the school vending machine. A kid gave me these and she was like, "Do you want to put these on your YouTube channel?" And I was like, "Absolutely." And I've never had these. And I'm a big fan of Sriracha and I love any kind of Dorito, so I'm pretty excited. They are the reduced fat ones. That's what the RF stands for, reduced fat. I guess because we're in school and we're in a school vending machine, they have to be somehow healthy or somewhat healthy. I don't know. But we're going to try these anyway. All right. I actually just opened the bag before I started this. I was like, man, they don't really put very many in there. Look how many is in there. Like, hardly any. Wow. But let's try it anyway and see how they are. I really like that. Kind of spicy. Not really. Not very spicy, but pretty sweet. Like a sweet heat kind of thing. It's kind of delicious. I like this. It's like the greatest Dorito I've ever had. Probably not. And some of them don't have as much seasoning as the others. I always hate when Doritos are a little stingy with the seasoning, you know? But like overall, I really like this. I would buy this from the vending machine. Yeah, I'm a fan. I'd probably give that like a 7. With more seasoning, I feel like I would up that to an 8. These are kind of stingy, you know? I like that. All right. Yeah, pretty good. So today we're going to go over adding integers. Let me make that smaller. We'll get the pen going, and we're good to go. So whenever we add integers, oh wait, oh my goodness, 1 second. There we go. All right, so whenever we add integers, this is what you guys have been doing in elementary school too. Whenever you add those whole numbers, because that's all an integer is, it's just a whole number. But now in 7th grade, sometimes those whole numbers are going to be negative. So whenever we add integers, where's the pen? There we go. So if the signs are the same, we're going to keep the sign from the problem and add them like normal. So we'll add them and keep the sign. If the signs are different, so if one of them is a positive and one of them is a negative, we're not really going to think add. In our head, we're going to think subtract. So different signs, we're going to subtract, and we will keep the sign of the larger number. Keep sign of larger number. So 5 plus 8. Let's look at this first one as a good example. 5 plus 8. So you guys have been doing this since probably kindergarten. This kind of problem. The same signs, we're going to add them up like normal. I'm going to get some kind of 13, and I'll just keep the sign from the problem. Both of these numbers were positive, so my answer is going to be positive. And we'll circle it, positive 13. The next one, negative 7 plus negative 3. Now, these are also the same sign. They're both negative numbers. So I'm going to add and keep the sign from the problem. So 7 and 3, that gives me 10. And I'm just going to keep the sign, negative 10. The next one, 8 and negative 5. Now, this is the only time that kids ever really make mistakes. When the signs are different, I'm not really going to think add. Even though there's a plus sign over here, it is 8 plus negative 5. In my head, I'm really going to think subtract. So I'm going to think 8 minus 5. And I'm going to get a 3. And then I have to figure out, is my answer going to be positive or negative? I'm going to keep the sign of the larger number. And here, the larger number is the 8. And sometimes kids get confused because, well, the positive is always larger because technically on a number line, every positive is larger than every negative. But another way to think about it is this problem more positive or is it more negative? And in this case, at least, it's more positive. So we're going to end up with a positive 3. And another way to think about it, we don't use this a lot, at least this visual. I think this is used more in 6th grade. But if I wrote out, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's like I have 8 positives. Just like from the problem. That's a positive 8. And then if I have 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negatives. Now we talked about zero pairs. It's kind of like when you combine one positive and one negative, you end up with zero. Whenever you combine a pair of opposites, you end up with zero. So watch how this works. Here's a positive. I'm going to remove it. If I remove one positive, I have to remove a negative. I'll remove a positive and a negative. Another positive with a negative. Another positive with a negative. Another positive with a negative. Whatever I'm left with is going to be my answer. I have 1, 2, 3 positives. I get a positive 3 as my answer. So let's look at the next one. 6 plus 2. Once again, this is kind of old school, like elementary style, but the signs are the same. So I'm going to add them up like normal and keep the sign from the problem. Both of these are positive, so my answer is going to be positive. Oh my gosh, that circle's terrible. I'm sorry. All right, let's scroll down a little bit. Where do we go? There we are. All right, let's give that an erase. All right, let's come back and look at number 5. -9 plus -3. So let me write our little reminders up here. Same signs, add, and keep the sign from the problem. Add and keep sign from the problem. And then on the other side, if I have different signs, even though it might say add, I'm not actually going to add those. In my head, I'm going to think subtract and keep the sign of the larger number. So this one over here, -9 plus -3. The signs are the same. So same signs, I'm going to add them and keep the sign from the problem. 9 and 3 gives me 12. They were both negative, so my answer is going to be negative. Down here, 3 plus -5. The signs are different, so different signs, I'm really going to think subtract. I'm going to keep the sign of the larger number. Now, whenever in my head I'm thinking about subtraction, I'm going to ignore all the signs and just think about those two numbers, a 3 and a 5. Back in like elementary school, you would always put the larger number first whenever you would subtract things. So in my head, I'm doing that same kind of thing. I'm not thinking 3 minus 5. I'm thinking 5 minus 3. That's going to give me a 2. And the -5, that's the bigger number here. This problem is more negative than it is positive. So my answer is going to be -2. Another way to think about it, if you, in your head as well, always put the bigger number first, whatever number you put first, whatever sign that one had in the original problem, that's going to be the sign of your answer. I put that 5 first. It was negative originally, so my answer is going to be negative. Let's look at the next one. -6 plus -3. Same signs, so I'm going to add and keep the sign from the problem. 6 and 3 gives me 9. I'm going to keep the sign, which was a negative. They were both negative numbers. The next one, 7 and -4. Different signs, so I'm going to actually subtract them in my mind, not add, but subtract, and keep the sign of the larger number. So I'm going to think 7 minus 4 in my head, just like back in elementary school. I'm going to get a 3. And because this problem, the larger number is the positive one, my answer is going to be positive as well. So positive 3. Over here, -2 plus 8, different signs. So I'm going to subtract and keep the sign of the larger number. And in my head, I'm really thinking 8 minus 2 because I'm always putting the bigger number first. I'm going to get a 6. I'm not going to add them up and get some kind of 10. I'm going to subtract them and get a 6. I'm going to keep the sign of the larger number here. Looks like the larger number is the positive one, so I'm going to have a positive 6. And down below, -3 plus -5, same sign, so I'm going to add and keep the sign from the problem. 3 and 5 gives me 8. They were both negative, so my answer is going to be -8. So that's how we do this. Another way to think about it that some kids have mentioned, and I always like too, is thinking about this in terms of money. So coming back to, let's see, this one. Number 4, it says 6 plus 2. If you have $6 and then you add $2 to that, how much are you going to have now? You're going to have $8. Down here, what if you were at -$9 in your bank account and then you add a -$3? You're not going to go any better into the negative. You're going to get way further into the negatives. You're going to be at -12. But over here, you start with $3 and then you add a -5. You can't get 8. You're at -2. You're in the negatives now. -6, -3. If your bank account balance is -$6 and you add -$3 to it, you're going to be at -9. Same word here. If you have $7 and you add negative $4, you're going to be at $3. Your money's going down if you add a negative to it. If you add a positive to it, your money's going up. So you start with negative $2 and you add $8 to your bank account, you're going up, you're increasing. You're going to be at 6. So a few different ways to think about it. Whatever works for you is what's most important though, okay? So thank you guys for sticking around for the whole video. I'll see you guys in class tomorrow. Bye.